Science. Paranormal. Drinks. Three tortured souls. Entertain, educate, recreate, and intoxicate.
Well, welcome.
Welcome.
We have a guest with us.
It's a new fourth tortured soul. I'll take the heat from Taryn.
Yeah,
She's bumped to 5. She hasn't shown up lately.
That's right.
Oh shit, we're gonna hear about that.
Kenny told me to say that.
Oh, thanks.
You're going to need better security when Taryn gets after you over that.
I'm just not gonna show up to anything anymore.
No, I can't even help you then. Well,
Yeah. Well, I mean, the last time I showed up and got in trouble, it was mostly because of the guy below me. It was his fault.
well, tonight I am like really excited about tonight. It happened fast, didn't it? Like we've had this for a while, and all of a sudden we were like, let's do it.
Well, according to the video you just showed, we've had it over a year.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh.
It's going to be good. It's going to be good. I can only say like this started out, I think, with one of us, and I'm doing my best to remember because this has been a while, but one of us ran across an advertisement for this product. And I believe it said you could talk with loved ones that had passed on. And that kind of crap just really irritates me because it's definitely, I think, preying on people in grief. So we just kind of looked at it. I think it's been a while. We came up with some really good ways to test it. I've tested it the way I did, and I know Kenny and Dave, and I'm sure John, without an H, really took a more technical dive into it. So I think with no further ado, because this might go into a little bit of long discussion, if you guys would just kind of introduce yourselves and give your first thoughts about this. What do you think? I'll start with Kenny, and I pointed right.
So first though, what device are we talking about? Are we going to hold that secret until we?
There we go. There you go. Slightly warped. We'll explain that later.
Seen better days.
It has, but then again, that's why I was last to get it. So my initial thoughts, I had seen one of these before. I was in Gettysburg, and there was a gentleman there that had one on his table, and he let me look at it. I couldn't take it apart at the time, but he let me kind of play with it a little bit and just to see, and he had no idea how it worked. But by contradiction, he said it worked great. So I don't know how one figures that out if like they don't know how it works, but it also works great when talking to ghosts. Anyway, so I had not had a chance to take a close look or play with it. But then I think, as you said, Tim, like we came across some information from him, from the guy that makes it, Ghost Gear. There were advertisements, and I do forget which one of us brought it up, but one of us came across it, and they were advertisements that specifically made these bold claims. And especially the one that pissed me off was that it was to debunk the skeptics. And I was like,
yeah, I forgot about that one. You're right.
How are you going to do that? And that's what we were curious. We were actually going to have him on the show and talk to him. And I reached out, he ignored me, and then he blocked me. And I mean, I wasn't saying anything bad. I was just saying, hey, come on the show, talk to us, tell us what you're doing. So that was my initial impression with it. And when I got it, I mean, I'll get into it in a little bit, but my initial impression was like, I didn't know what this was doing, and it didn't seem like it was doing much, but everyone kind of loved it. So I was really curious about what was going on. So I'll pass it to Dave.
Sure. So I think, Tim, you actually purchased it. I somehow believe I contributed to that. And if I didn't, correct me, but
you did.
It's probably I've pissed away other money for other things before. So Tim played around with it. He sent it to me because my thought is test it in a location that's supposedly non-haunted. Let's get some baseline information. Let's just see what it does. So I think I actually got it. And then all the stuff with my wife Jen's health issues, it sat there for a very long time. So it got acclimated to the environment in my house quite well. So then I finally got around to testing it and ran it a couple times. I won't get into the details of what I did now because we're going to talk about that. Tested it, then it sat again for a while. And then I thought, oh, let me run one of my data loggers with it that measures and data logs EMF, electric field, and radio frequency, just to see if it's going to correlate with any changes in the environment. Because I was curious, and you'll find out why I was curious, because it was doing something that I didn't expect based on the description and what the claims were. So I wrapped up my testing and sent some of the information to both Tim and Kenny, and I FedExed it off to Kenny. And that was the end of it. And it's interesting. No matter where this discussion goes tonight, I think it's interesting on multiple levels. Claims, how to test equipment, what you should do to understand what that equipment's doing, and, just see what it can do. And based on the results that we got, there might even be ways for people, even if you agree or disagree with what we're going to say, it's hard to disagree with the data at this point. But agree or not, it actually forms a basis for how you might actually be able to take it and test it further and test it in supposedly haunted locations then. So we'll talk more about that later.
Cool. All right, John, feel free to introduce yourself and your thoughts on it.
Yeah. So I'm John. Some of you guys may know me as John without an H.
John without an H.
My day job is I'm an associate infrastructure engineer for a large financial organization. And I saw Kenny post something on the members page of his YouTube page, I believe. And I have two passions in life, and that's the paranormal in general. I also am a skeptic, but I love interacting with people in the paranormal and technology. Like those are two of my big passions. And so when those two come together, I am very interested to see what one of these gadgets looks like on the inside and what's going on. And so I had asked Kenny if I could take a look at it, just because I was curious about how it works. And I tried to suspend my disbelief in this case for what it could do and just kind of look at it and take it at face value. Like, what if you could have a yes/no box? Could this box do what the creator is claiming it can do? And I thought I was going to spend a few hours looking at it, and it kind of turned into, I thought I was going to write a paragraph to you guys, and it kind of turned into an 8-page document. Just because it was fun for me.
The group and the rabbit holes that Tim goes down.
Right.
Yeah.
So it turned like a weekend thing. So
cool.
Yeah, it was fun to look at.
I'm gonna add in another guest here.
Oh, okay. I was just sending you a message. Go ahead.
Oh, cool. Hey, John. John's got his mic off.
I think I can unmute him. I think. Yep. I hope it's
Oh.
okay to unmute him.
Did it work? No, it didn't work.
No, it didn't work.
Oh, there it is.
There it is.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Oh,
I can hear
yeah.
you.
Yeah, I'm driving.
Oh yeah.
But thanks,
You got a
Ben.
bad connection. All right, we're gonna keep going. If you get into a better area, we'll see how it goes. Let us know. We'll keep you in there so you can follow along. But all right, yeah, keep going. Sorry.
Oh, that was it for me.
That was it. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I've got more, but that's my introduction. We can talk about other things. I don't know. I don't know if I'm supposed to pass it off to somebody else.
That's all right.
No.
Tim's in charge tonight.
Pass it
Yeah,
back to
of
Tim.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it's not open mic night, I have to orchestrate everything. So I'll start off with what I did. I want Dave helped me out with the process of it, and also given me, is it Brandon? No,
Brandon Masulo, yeah.
thank you. I didn't want to mispronounce his last name. With a recording on PowerPoint that I think he developed or he came up with for another similar test of what I did. So I did have a place that had an alleged haunting. I don't know if it's haunted or not, but the allegations were there, and that was fine for me. And a place that didn't have, and I could record at both locations. So what I did was I took the PowerPoint, which has the same questions, the same tempo, the same voice, the same everything. And what we did was we played that PowerPoint slide video in both places and recorded the responses to see if there was any major differences or any changes. But I wanted to see, particularly for me, if they got the answers correct. And if they did, I was going to ask a statistician, maybe by the name of Dave, to take and see if they were of any consequence. But really, there was, I don't think maybe there was just one question that was right. And that might have just been by chance, probably. Most of the times when it asked a question, it didn't even light up. Sometimes it did, and most of the times they were wrong. But we did it in both places, alleged haunted location and a non-haunted location, just to see. And there wasn't even, nothing even close happened. It just seemed, from my perspective, it seemed random. It didn't seem like it was following anything with the questions at all. And on top of that, there was one night I put it on the desk behind me during a show. And without asking questions, it was, of course, I didn't go back and watch the show, but I think Kenny did. And it was just random and going on and off. So I didn't find anything significant or groundbreaking through both questions at a non-haunted location and alleged haunted location. And that's pretty much what I did. And also, I think, as a matter of fact, Daniel, if it's still working, Kenny.
It does. It's all back here. Look, it does work. I can turn it on.
You should turn it on and put it back behind you.
That's what I had. It was sitting back here. It's sitting right. Actually, I'll put it up on the shelf. That way you can see it better.
Yeah. Daniel wants to give it a go too and do the recording with the PowerPoint. No. As far as the technical side of that, I am not a very technical person, so I leave that to Dave and Kenny and John, without an H. But I had a lot of fun doing it. It was very interesting. The people at my place of employment had a lot of fun doing it with me as well. So it was good. It was a good test. I don't think it was the most solid test, but I don't think it was the worst test. It was pretty across the board. We kept things as controlled as possible outside of just the environment. I didn't have a data logger, which if I would have loved to run both of them at the same time, but I don't have one. And I think I should probably get one by this time. I think it would have been good to have that information along with the responses as well. Right. But that's what I did.
Cool. Dave got it next, so he should go.
Okay.
Oh, Dave.
So I got it, and I thought, well, let's take a look at it and just let it run. I ended up doing 4 different sessions, different days, different times, and I ran it for 10 minutes each. So what I ended up doing is I have a little like cell phone holder I clamped onto the desk, turned the computer so it could record the whole thing, and I would turn it on, then hit record on the computer, and then I would exit the room. And this is, I'm at the house, no reports of paranormal activity, no ghostly experiences. I mean, nothing that you would consider paranormal. So I ran it for 10 minutes, and then I'd come back and review the video, and I would make note of what time from point zero the light would come on, a light would come on, and when it would go off. And what I found after 4 10-minute sessions, and there's a little bit of variability because I think there's a slight difference in when I turn the device on and when I hit record on the computer. So there's like a couple seconds, plus or minus probably 3 to 5 seconds. But what I found is in every session, the green light came on between 3 minutes and 21 seconds and 3 minutes and 27 seconds in the 4 sessions. It would stay on for 2 seconds and then it would go off. And then the red light would come on at 8 minutes and between 39 and 45 seconds, and then go off 2 seconds later. So at that point, I'm like, there seems to be a pattern here. So then the next thing I wanted to do is run it with a data logger. So I took a GQ EMF 390 data logger that logs every second, and it logs electromagnetic field, X, Y, and Z, and then gives you a sum value. It also logs radio frequency power density as well as the electric field. So I ran it for 30 minutes to see if it would correlate with any changes in the environment. There was nothing, there's no correlation with the EMF, no correlation in electric field. 4 out of the 7 events of lights coming on, there was a shift in the radio frequency power density. Some of them you just saw it, the lower level, it would pop up and it would be kind of a shifted condensed band for the couple seconds that it was on. And then that was, I think, 3 of them. And then one of them was, there was just a point that went way high on the power density, but it was only 4 out of the 7. So I'm like, all right, well, I don't know, maybe it's picking up something, or, not knowing exactly what the range was of what it's supposedly detecting with all these environmental factors. Little hard to say. And then obviously the claim of this complex algorithm, which I don't know how it works. So I don't know how to analyze all the logger data to kind of see if it's matching up. But again, the only thing that really looked like it was potentially correlated was maybe the radio frequency power density. That was it. So I finished the testing and boxed it up and sent it off to Kenny.
Woohoo! Then I got it. So yeah, when I got it, like my wife said in chat, I was very excited.
Saw that.
Like, you got a package, and I was like, oh, leaving work early. Ran all the way home, which is like 30 seconds. Ran home, got it, opened it up, started looking into it right away. I did some runs with it. I did a few runs. I turned it on. I just let it go, and I was playing with it. I had like a walkie-talkie. I had what else did I have? I had magnets. I actually used. So I have a hobby that I like doing. It's magnet fishing. So I was using a magnet. There's one that I was using to see if I could mess up the magnetic field. There's my big one. Using all those, playing around with it, going in different rooms, I could not get it to go on. One of the things I remember from from when we first looked at this, like a year and so ago, was that, and Dave sent me the video recently, again, rewatching it. At times, like on the demonstration video, the lights would blink, like flash. They wouldn't come on for 2 seconds. They would literally like just flash real quick, which didn't happen at any time when I had it. I don't know about you guys, but it seemed to go on for 2 seconds and that was it. But I did set it up at different areas in this building and at home. So I did have it at home for a little bit. I did 2 half-hour sessions. I did 2 half-hour sessions here in front of my computer on my desk right here. I did 2 half-hour sessions out in the lobby here. And then I went into the reading room, which is under these old-ass weird lights that take like 10 minutes to warm up and actually go to full brightness. I turned those on. I had it under there. I recorded everything. And I was starting to piece together a pattern. So I reached out again to Dave and I was like, hey, like, what were the times that you had? And he sent me his chart and I realized that my times lined up exactly with his. So then I started going through these runs where I was predicting, I could predict which light would come on at what time. And after that, I did a total of 8 runs, which you can see right there, 8 runs where I could accurately predict whether the red light or green light would come on and exactly what time. And it varied only about a second. And Dave's times were, what did you have? You had 3, let me see. I had it up on screen.
Or I'll give them to you. Hold on. Let me pull that back. For the yes, the green on, 326, 321, 327, 321. But again, there's variability from when I turned it on and started the recorder. And then the red light was 8:45, 8:39, 8:46, and 8:40.
All right. So I was doing my test where I was sitting here. I had my stopwatch on my phone. All right. So stopwatch on here. I would hold the switch and hit everything at the same time. Turn it on because I wanted to try to get as close as possible. So my times were, the green light would come on at 3 minutes and 24 seconds with a variation of like 25. It was either 24 or 25 seconds. And then the red light was coming on at 8 minutes and 44 or 45 seconds. So that lined up beautifully with yours.
What was one of your green lights? The 3 what?
3:24.
So mine came on at 3:37.
So with the gap, because we were talking about it before the show, the gap between you turning it on and then walking over to the camera to turn it on, that should make up for that. I think that should it? Yeah,
it's roughly.
We're gonna have to go back.
Roughly the same though.
To piggyback on that, I did go back to the original show that we did on November 1st of 2023, and I'm saying all these details because the thing is, like, you guys watching this can go back to that show and time it yourselves. So I actually did each session for 31 minutes because I got the same results, and I'm just going to read the top one. Green light at 3:24, red light at 8:44, green light at 11:22, red light at 11:56, green light at 14 minutes and 43 seconds, another green light at 19:52, red light at 26:32, 29:38, and 29:55, and then a green light at 30 minutes and 36 seconds. And again, like, that's for 8 runs in a row in different places. It came up. There's my actual notes. So when I went back to the show that we did, and Tim had it, luckily you lifted it up, you put it on camera and turned it on, and then reached back and put it on the shelf. And I just lowered my chair.
Green light.
So I was, there you go. So I was able to actually time it, and it synced up with my times, with our times. So it synced up perfectly. So from that moment, I was like, this is a pattern. there's a pattern. There's nothing affecting this because, like I said, I was playing with magnets and radio frequency next to it, things that I thought might make it go off, and I could not get it to go off or deviate from that pattern. So the next thing I did was I figured, well, I did enough tests. Now it's time to open it up and see what's inside, which is not much. I was very disappointed, but not so much because it's not unexpected. Most of these devices, when I open them up, I realized that most of the inside is air. It's expensive air that you buy because there's a lot of space in there. It had a board, and then a few components. One was a chip. Actually, two looked like chips. But then there was some. There was a resistor, and then there was 3 capacitors in there. I recognized those, so I was like, "All right, cool." There's a chip. There's a little sensor in there that I saw that is similar to what's in the static dome. So it picks up static electricity, and when it does get a jolt of static, I think there's a silicon wafer in there that changes state and allows current to pass. So that's why you have these static domes that will light up once in a while when there's static around. And then there was the chip, and then there was another thing I didn't know what it was. So they were covered with black goo. There was some kind of black goo on them, which is probably either to seal it or to keep people like me from finding out what they were using. So with a little ingenuity, I was able to remove that stuff and get the part numbers. So with that, I started looking it up. I reached out to Jonathan Vanover, who's still back there, but unfortunately, I think he's still having a problem with a reception. But I reached out to him. I sent him some pictures. He did send me a write-up about the components and what they do or what they don't do. I actually took a voltage reading for him to make sure that the one chip was a regulator. It really didn't do anything else. It just regulates voltage. And then John, without an H, he reached out and was very enthusiastic and said, please, please, please let me take a look at this. So I sent him pictures as well, because I always like to get as many opinions as I can, especially from people that know what they're talking about. And he sent us a report this morning and went through it, or this afternoon, or I don't know when. I read it today that broke down the components. But I'm going to give an impression here, and then John, I'm going to push it off to you for now. And then John Vanover, if your reception is better, feel free to unmute your mic and jump in. But basically,
right.
An article. Hey.
So I'm still driving, so I won't turn my camera on. You don't want to see that, but
Okay.
Well, you sound much better.
Yeah, you sound better.
Yeah.
I'm actually in civilization. I'm off where the work is. I'm back in the civilization. But the only question I had was, is it always green, red, green, red, green, red, or does it change up the sequence?
It does change. It has green, red, green, red, green, green, red, 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 green. But I stopped it at 31 minutes.
Okay, because every time I see a product like this and it says the word algorithm, then I know it's a microcontroller. And like I said, my whole guess was it's just a coin toss algorithm running, and it's using the antenna to maybe change the seeding of the random generator. And that's all it does. That's all I can see that it does.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know. I just figured there was a pattern. I mean, if it's, I guess my question is, if it's a random number generator at all, like, wouldn't it be random that it's spitting out?
Because
Not necessarily. These things can't really do random numbers very well.
Okay.
That's what he's proposing. So basically, like, the antenna would take a reading, and that reading would would basically factor into the actual random number generator and like change that. So it's not really random. But it's
Right.
kind of taking, it could take different different variables however you do it, and that's where it's getting the random number.
I would assume though, between Tim running it where he did and in the background at his house, which gave the same red and green on and off times. I had the same times in my house. Kenny had the same at his place of work. I got to assume there's probably some differences in those environments, that if the environment was affecting the random number generation, you think you would see something different at least times.
Yeah.
Well, I would assume it would start off the same. It's starting, your all's first reading is probably the same almost everywhere. And then as time goes on, there should be some variances.
Yeah.
But if you do a Google search for Arduino, which is what this controller is, basically an Arduino random generator seated, and then you'll see there's people have tried to build these things that use a wire that picks up noise to see. None of this is groundbreaking. I mean, you can Google and find this circuit, and you just don't know what code is on board that thing without doing some more destructive work to it.
I can't authorize that. It's not mine. I already destroyed it enough.
Like, for example, like whenever I was setting up a like a personal VPN for my house, so I can kind of remote into my house whenever I'm out on the road. And you have these keys that you create that are unique just to you. And one of the things when you create the keys, in order for it to create the random number, is you just move your mouse just a certain amount of time. And I don't know what it's doing, but that's enough input to create a random number for the keys to generate for my VPN whenever I was generating the keys. So it makes sense. You just kind of need some kind of noise, and then that random number generator can just create something. And as time goes on, chaos theory, it gets more it's not random, but to us it seems more random,
right,
to humans.
But I would expect that it would. I don't know how I want to phrase it. I see no randomness, like, at all. I see one particular pattern repeating. And I know Dave, I don't know if you did too, but we were going to reach out. I reached out on social media and asked if anyone else had one of these, because I would like someone else to run this. I would like someone else to sit this down somewhere and run it for at least a half hour. And with a timer and time it, like turn everything on at the same time and then run it and see if there's a pattern. Do it multiple times and see if there's a pattern.
Well, if the red green sequence is always the same, but the interval is different, is that what you're saying? There's always the same number of reds and greens?
The intervals are the same.
Everything's the same.
So in reality, that antenna may do absolutely nothing, and it's just running some code. And another note is this chip usually runs with a crystal oscillator at 16 megahertz. Well, it's running without that crystal to save money. So it's going to have some drifting in its internal clock naturally, just by the design of the circuit. It doesn't have an oscillator to set the time more precise. So it's probably just drifting on its own internally. And that antenna may do absolutely nothing. It's just a sequence of lights that are coming on at random, or at a set interval that appears to be random to people who aren't timing it.
Okay. Yeah, you bastards that are timing it. All you bastards, all you guys over there.
You too. You're the bastard that timed it as well. And probably anybody timing it behind you might fall in that as well.
Yeah.
I did look at some YouTube videos, and I was trying to find, and I haven't found one yet. Haven't been looking for that long. I was trying to find like a video, like sometimes people will do like their long investigations for like hours. I was trying to find one where someone had an epic box. I haven't found it yet, but
either.
in one of
Yeah.
which interesting, but in one of the like advertising videos, and which again it's an advertisement video, so who knows what's going on with it, but they had like he was showing like a video proving that it works, which there's no proof in it, but the red does go off, or it's either the red or the green goes off twice very rapidly, like within like a few seconds.
Yeah, I think this is the video you sent us, Dave,
Hmm.
where it flickers.
Yeah.
Is this the one with the magic box?
But
John?
I'm a little skeptical of that one because he's got
Maybe.
another box that he claims he's hitting a button that triggers the yes and the no.
Mm.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
He might be triggering something with his finger to get
Yeah.
that to flicker.
Yeah,
Or
I
if he's
remember
using a push, if he's using a push button switch, they have this thing called bounce. So it could just be he's just triggering the LEDs manually, and the switch is bouncing
Yeah.
because it doesn't have a
Yeah.
debounce circuit.
Okay.
You know, and the final piece of this is the name of this box. Did y'all look that name of the meaning of that word? Because we use it at work on aircraft with GPS systems. You know, it's a measure. It's a time reference.
I did not. Let me check it out.
Yeah,
True,
yeah. Epoch is yeah. Google it and you'll see real quick.
because I
Period
was
of-
assuming
Yeah. Okay.
the epic was like
Period of
a yeah.
A long
funny.
period of time, especially one with new developments or great change.
funny.
So, oh my God, this makes it like a cosmic joke, like an overall like fuck you to everyone that has bought it. Wow. I'm gonna,
That's something.
if you don't mind, I'm gonna share the pictures of the inside.
Go ahead.
You guys good? Yeah. So that's the inside of it. When you open it up, that's what you first see. These are from the battery pack coming in to power it. Here's the alleged antenna.
So
That's the microcontroller. Go ahead.
that's what I paid $170 for.
Yes.
Ooh.
And then
And
let me see
If you'd like
here.
to know, I broke down the part cost for this. If you'd want to know,
That's the other side. So yeah, there was, well, before you say that, I do have John broke it down too. I think he said without the case, because I think the case was the one thing he didn't have, and he thought there was only like about $20 worth of parts here. I did the same thing. I broke it down, and I think I came up with the case because I found the case. I found the actual case with the rubber insert. And I think altogether it came to like 35 or $40 complete. But what did you find?
about 40, yeah. But I was going on the assumption that, so I don't know what he probably bought, that PCB, which is the green thing, like that board itself.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of those he buys like in bulk, so I was kind of just going on an estimation. But yeah, about 40 is what I came up with.
Yeah. So that's the antenna. And I mean, it says sensor. And I do not like this. This bothers me, looking for the secret sauce. I mean,
I feel like he's talking to us. Like talking to the person opening it up.
Maybe he put that there just for Tim, because he's like, wait, Tim's associated with Dave and Kenny. Oh my God, no, we're gonna screw with them.
Stamp that on just for us.
Mm-hmm.
But there we go. I'm starting to take the glue off and found all the component serial numbers.
And just to say something real quick too, that
Sure.
black substance that's on the boards, most of the time, that's a clear substance that you put on to kind of protect the parts. Just like it's like an extra layer of protection.
Right.
You specifically get the black stuff, which is more expensive because you're wanting to hide stuff. And I don't hold that against him. Like, maybe he's wanting to hide his copyright. But it's it's weird. Like, why?
Well, I mean, I've seen other people do this with the ghost
Sure.
hunting gadgets. I've seen people do it where they put the black on top, and I've used it. I mean, I have a liquid electrical tape liquid
Mhm.
latex kind of thing. Like, and I've used that, but more protection on electrical components, you know, when I'm splicing wires together and shit like that. So I get it, but I don't like the fact overall we don't know how this works. Like the guy who makes it is claiming that it reads 6 different measurements. So we can get into that too. Like it's supposed to read 6 different measurements, but he doesn't tell you what it's reading, how it's reading, what those readings translate into, and above all, like how the fuck does a ghost know how to make it say yes or no? Like I don't know how to make it do it. And I've been playing with it for days. And I can't figure it out. So like what the hell? So what's and both Johns, you want to chime in here, like tell us a little bit about the microcontroller and can it do what it claims to do? I think John without an H, if you want to start.
Yeah. So the microcontroller, it's basically like a hobby kit microcontroller. It's a very cheap microcontroller. And for people that aren't 100% sure or are aware of what the microcontroller was, that was that like silver, the kind of like the biggest part on the device. And it is made for like hobby stuff. And there's a lot of stuff you can do with microcontrollers. I was actually, when I was researching this, I actually found like a lot of really cool gadgets that do a lot with very simple microcontrollers. But in every case where they were doing really complicated things, they were being helped by those other things. Like if they had like a sensor that was detecting continental ice drift from Arctic sheets of ice or whatever, a lot of the power was in the sensor, so it was kind of doing a lot of the heavy lifting before it sent that data to the microcontroller. And in every case, the microcontrollers were way more powerful than this one. There's a lot of stuff, like a lot of really cool things you could do with Arduino boards. They're fascinating devices. But what he is claiming is it's more complex than what it seems. So it's not just, hey, I can interpret 6 different variables that change. That's fine. Like that's not that hard to do. But then I can also, with this, filter out, and the microcontroller somehow knows, his advanced algorithm somehow knows that it's not human interaction, that it's not natural interaction, like just the natural changing of the Earth's magnetism or EMF field, like at any given time. Yeah. It's not artificial. Like he somehow has filtered. He claims this on his website that he can filter out artificial EMF. I don't know, like that you have just like increased the complexity of what you were claiming, right, many times over. And then on top of that, he claims that he somehow has figured out how Ghost can manipulate all these things in a specific way to specifically make yes or specifically say no questions. No, right. Like, and that is extremely so we've gone from like 6 different things, not a big deal, but you have like ramped up the complexity. And without any kind of supporting, like, let's just say this antenna actually works, and maybe I'm missing parts on the board. Without any kind of like supporting cast, I don't see any chance in hell that this microcontroller can do anything. Like, even if that was possible, you need something besides this particular chip. This chip is not that powerful at all to be able to do this.
It does say, I'm going to read this off of the Amazon advertisement for it. It does say, take your paranormal investigations to the next level with the Epic box. I keep wanting to say Epoch. Like, it doesn't say Epic. Epoch box. This innovative ghost detector uses advanced algorithms to detect and interpret electromagnetic fields and environmental energy changes, converting them into clear yes or no responses for real-time communication, untainted by human interference or manipulation. So the first thing I want to point out is that the video that Dave sent us, which was a how it works video from the guy that built it, he actively manipulates it with a mystery box. And that was Dave. That was your question. He's like, "What the fuck is in the mystery box?"
It's a mystery.
And it literally is a white box, and he wrote "mystery box" on it with 2 buttons, and he puts it near it, which is also something that I noticed. Like, it's not just like he put it on the table with it. He made sure that it was really close to it, and that kind of got me there. Like.
Yeah, it didn't look like it was wired into it from what I could see on the
No.
video, but who knows?
But I mean, he actively manipulates it. Human tainting of the scene. He contradicts exactly how he describes it. But what my question is, and John, you addressed this in your 350-page report. Like, can this device, is it capable of doing real-time data interpretation like this?
Not for the complexity of what he is saying. And I showed, like, I had 2 other devices that were, one was doing 6 different variables as well, like environmental variables. And it couldn't do real time for the very simple variables that it was doing. Now, it had delayed time, but like if you're talking about like an instant, like I need an answer immediately change, which is important when you're doing this kind of thing. Like if ghosts are real and you can make them say yes or no, it's extremely important that when you ask a question, that there is a real-time answer and not one that takes place 30 seconds later after you've already asked other questions. It's just this, I showed like a different device that has 6 sensors that wasn't capable of doing that with a much more powerful microcontroller as well. And it wasn't capable of doing it. So no, I unless if he has some kind of compression, magic box. and that's kind of my thing too, is like, dude, like if you've invented something that's this great, like what are you doing selling it to a bunch of ghost hunters? Like submit this to, like Cisco or somebody and become a millionaire. Like if you've created something that could do something so complex and put it in such a simple microcontroller, that could revolutionize the industry. You know what I mean? Like that's great.
Right. So I want to read out. I see the other John dropped out. I wonder if he's just losing reception. He sent a report, and I'm just going to read the last paragraph here, that a more detailed analysis would require a firsthand examination, which is understandable, of the device. Oh, there he is. And downloading the software for analysis. Still, I do feel confident that this device does not provide any communication with spirits or do anything the sellers claim it does. So, but then he adds on that things needed to make a better determination is what pin is the antenna connected to, what is the resistor value, and what is it connected, and to what is it connected? What are the capacitor values? I think one of them I was able to find out. It was like 25 volts. What are they connected to? And then what is the 2N222 connected to? So, I mean, understandable. It has questions. We don't know what the chip was programmed to do. I'm kind of leaning towards it was programmed to turn the light on at 3 minutes and 24 seconds and then different intervals. But that's just my opinion. I'll stop talking. I'm kind of dominating. I'm sorry, guys.
No,
I agree with John. This thing is nowhere near complex to do what it claims. It's missing all the sensors. Yeah, it just can't handle that much stuff if it was really doing all that work.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the other thing too is, when I was John, I don't know if you were able to get the pictures after Kenny removed some of the epoxy off of the board, but it does look like, to be completely fair, it does look like, so there's, you have like a microcontroller and it kind of looks like a ladder on the sides. And that's where like the pins are. It does look like there is a trace, which the trace is like with that antenna, like the little lines in the antenna. It does look like there's one going into like the appropriate spot if it had a sensor that was working. But unfortunately, because of all the black goo on there, it's hard to see and tell exactly where that trace is coming from. And it is possible, like some of those devices could be functioning as filters. There could be like, I was trying to find, I have oh, here it is. I can just be completely unprofessional and step away from the camera. I've got, like a little environmental board that I've used. I don't know. No, my background. I'm always afraid I've got something crazy in the background that people are going to see. But I mean, this can actually, I put these on my Raspberry Pi devices, which I have about.
You better have pants on.
Nope. I hope that's fine. I thought you guys don't wear pants either, right? I thought that was normal.
No.
Right. See, there we go. But this is in actually this was in, I had a like a little Atari, so it's stuck in there. But this is like a Raspberry Pi, which is a lot more powerful than this Arduino, and you can put the sensors onto the pins in the board, and this little device. I mean, it looks very simple, but it is powerful enough to give environmental readings. I don't remember exactly what it can do, but it can give readings. And it's hard to see everything, and you can tell like some of the sensors are, well, maybe you can't, but they're tiny. So is that covered up by the black epoxy? I don't know. I'm kind of with John though. I seriously doubt it.
I don't see anything else. Like I went through this pretty good, looking really deep into it. There's nothing besides the items that we can see. There is nothing very tiny. Any place I did not remove the goo was just because it was kind of like spread out too thin, and to do that it either would peel up as one piece, or it would scratch the board itself. And I didn't feel like doing that when I didn't have to. I could not find any other like indication that there was any tiny sensors or anything little, because that's what I was looking for. I know that there's little tiny sensors that you can plug in, but there was just nowhere, unless it's underneath the chip. That's the only thing that I could imagine.
Yeah. If you look up the data sheet for that 3-pin regulator, it uses usually 2 capacitors and a resistor. So that accounts for 2 of the capacitors.
Okay.
And the resistor, that just leaves 1 capacitor, and then that 2N222 transistor, which I think may be doing some kind of current. Can't think of the word. It's driving the LEDs. Nickel or maybe some kind of dimmer for the LEDs. Unsure without looking, but it's not a JFET, so it's not doing a static reading like we have on the other things.
Right.
It's just a regular on and off switch type and small signal amplifier, but it's not able to do the static sensing.
And that's what I thought too. I thought that particular piece may be able to do the static sensing, and you can still, like, with just an antenna, you can do like a burst sensing, which can kind of detect static, but it's super rudimentary. Like, it's not accurate. It's more of detecting if there is like a large static charge. I mean, you can do that with a very simple antenna, but it is not accurate whatsoever for any kind of like material reading.
So if you had a guess based on that antenna component, what could it detect And what magnitude of change could it detect?
So like if I just want to like go in good faith and let's say this was wired correctly, everything was set up how it should be, like in an optimal situation, like what could that antenna detect? Um, I mean, it could certainly detect EMF. It could detect radio frequency. It depends on what's on the microcontroller,
Mhm.
what kind of what do you have set up on there for it to detect? Um, but and that's the question, like, and this is what's so hard to answer with one without looking at the software, and two without knowing what his idea of like what ghosts can manipulate. I don't know how accurate it is. I don't know like how sensitive.
Mhm.
Like the ghosts move EMF by 5% more than the background,
Y-
100%,
There's actually a lot of
2000%.
publications on that now, and they think
Interesting.
in haunted locations and actually in
Mhm.
non-haunted locations, what they're looking at is what they've settled on is 2 to 3 standard deviations,
Okay.
and that's what they're
Um,
looking for, and it varies based on what the background is.
yeah, I didn't. I would have to look more at this particular antenna. I couldn't just off the top of my head. I don't know if you can, John. I couldn't make a determination for like an exact um, EMF that it could detect. Um, the in terms of like for any kind of like like if you're wanting to be accurate, like if you're wanting to get like an accurate number without having any kind of filters or anything like that to filter out noise or anything like that, the actual pins, they're called ADC, analog to digital pins on that particular chip are just very inaccurate. It's enough to say yes or no, but it's not enough to give very accurate readings for an advanced algorithm.
I did
I
get
Yeah,
think
so it would have to be a pretty would correct me if I'm wrong in interpreting what you're saying. It would have to be a fairly big change in an environmental variable for it to read and give you something.
correct. Right. Correct.
I think John.
Well, I was going to say, I think it does about $175 worth of accuracy. That's what it does. That's the only thing you
To
can
be fair,
quantitate here.
technology is advancing.
True.
Yeah,
True.
the only
True.
thing you can quantitate here is that, yeah, it does $175 worth of ghost detecting.
Well, yeah, if you take the markup off of it, it's probably less than that.
I mean,
Mhm.
I'm figuring that with time, like I don't know how long it would take them to put this together, but I mean, minus the parts, they're still at like approximately a good like $120,
Yeah.
$130 profit.
Yeah, I think I'll start
Yeah.
selling for $80, maybe 75.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I want to share something just to show, like this is from the page, and I have a lot of problem with the marketing here, and I think this is what started us on it. The way this company, I guess, markets their stuff. A trusted alternative, no onboard microphones or speech, relies solely on 6 environmental inputs, making it immune to manipulation.
Immune.
Now, this one's slightly different than the one we have, though. We don't have the circle of dots
So
drilled
that is
into it.
just a
That's a
speaker.
speaker.
That's the
There's
speaker. Okay,
yeah,
on
there's 2.
version 2, right?
So this is version 2,
Okay.
and according to what the website says, when you read about the new version, it's all he did was add the speaker, the switches. It's a 3-way switch now, so you can turn it on with sound or turn it on without sound. So that your 3 positions: sound, no sound, and off. And then he had to get a different supplier for the case. But everything else he claims is the same. So the benefits here is something I have a problem with, because it says provides genuine responses untainted by human interference or manipulation. We don't.
But
I don't.
everything it detects is probably due to some sort of human electrical creation or
Yeah,
activity.
if it could. Yeah.
yeah.
It safeguards your reputation as a trusted authority in the field of paranormal investigation. Dave?
That's a plus.
I mean,
Safeguards your reputation as a
hmm.
trusted authority. That's simple.
I would say a big fat fucking no. No.
Okay.
What? All right, next. Ensures credibility and integrity in your investigations, maintaining the trust of your audience.
Why do you have an audience?
An audience.
Well, you know, YouTubers.
You're very credible at exactly 3 minutes and 44 seconds and 8 minutes and whatever.
And then here's the big one that really set me up, the opportunity to become a partner and earn 8% commission. Further in it, it's almost like a pyramid scheme going here.
Can
Point
base
number-
and make
point number-
percentages?
Point number 4 invalidates point number 2 and 3.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, you know, let's be fair. I mean, you can market things and have people make money that are good, reputable products that work.
Yeah, I'm all about selling stuff to make money. Like that guy's probably got to make a living, and I get it.
I get it.
That's a weird.
There you go.
If
Unlock genuine spirit communication.
Is this the same guy or company that picked up the equipment from an unnamed or not to be named company from Texas that everybody was angry at, and they're producing their stuff now?
Oh, you mean Paranologies?
Yes.
I don't think so.
I thought they partnered with someone and they were going to start making all their stuff.
I don't know. Maybe.
Because this would even be, the Paranology stuff was more advanced than this. I mean, to give them a little bit of cred.
So, Kenny, what was that thing you found or sent about peer review? And they're experts. I'm trying to remember what that was. Maybe I can probably find it in our conversations on Messenger.
I think it's on here. Hold on. Let me find About Us. Going through their site. Here we go. To ensure the highest quality and precision in our products, each unit is meticulously crafted to personalized approach. Wait, no. Oh, there it is up top. To ensure products meet the highest standards, we have implemented a rigorous and transparent peer review process for all our schematics and designs. Before any of our electronic devices are brought to market, they undergo thorough examination by a minimum of 3 independent peers, each boasting over 2 decades of experience as esteemed electronic engineers. This peer review process serves as a cornerstone of our dedication to excellence, as it guarantees that our products are backed by the expertise and scrutiny of seasoned professionals in the field. By subjecting our designs to such scrutiny, we not only identify potential flaws and weaknesses, but we also receive valuable feedback, enabling us to fine-tune and enhance our devices to perfection. At Ghost Gear, we understand that trust is paramount when it comes to electronic products, and that's why we strive to ensure complete transparency, again, bullshit, and reliability through our peer-reviewed designs.
So does that transparency mean that we get to see the peer review, the process and the results from each individual?
So I looked and looked and looked.
Should we reach out and ask?
Well, you guys can. I can't. I'm blocked. I can't ask him anything.
Sure.
Is it as transparent as the black epoxy he used instead of clear? Also, if he wants to be transparent, like open source his code, like let us all see what the code is.
I think the transparency, saying that, like, that angers me that it's written there like that, because I mean, for one, again, I'm going to go back to the video Dave shared with us. I mean, it's the how it works video directly from that guy, and he uses a mystery box. That's not transparent. Mm-hmm. That's not telling us what he's using to make it go off. The potential flaw or the variable that we don't know about. Like, he's not being transparent whatsoever. And I think that's very dishonest in doing that and then writing this shit. But otherwise, the peer, I'm sorry, go ahead.
He keeps using that word. I do not think it means.
But yeah, and you got a point too, Ken. Like peer review, like where's the review for us to look
exactly
at?
like Dave's like, because he sent that to me and he was like,
Who,
where is
where? What is it?
Right.
Who is it?
What did they find? Who is it?
And is it a literal
Did
peer,
you-
or do you
did
mean
you-
you put it in a journal?
Did
like
you
most peer
publish it?
review?
I don't think so, because I think I would have come across it if you did.
Right.
I think
And
he's
again,
interpreting peer as his buddy, like it's my
Yeah, I
friend.
think so.
Yeah.
Buddies, coworkers, kind of thing like that.
Right.
I mean, I looked, once when Dave sent that, I think you sent us the video, and then that made me go into a deep dive on the website, looking at everything. And when I saw the peer review, I was like, well, let me see if I can find something on it, and not a mention.
At a minimum, publish something on your website like we did. Haunted, non-haunted, a breakdown of the components, what it's supposed to be doing. You go and buy like any, let's say, EMF data logger. It gives you the specifications, exactly what it is detecting, the range, the sensitivity, the precision. It's there. It's all there. But with this, there's no. I mean, I would say there's no quantitative or qualitative information at all.
So there's a blog post saying unveiling the origins, the story behind the Epoch box. He claims that he began tracking electrical stuff. I knew Dave was That's literally what it
It got
says.
me when I'm drinking.
It literally says that. I
Stuff.
began tracking electrical stuff in places that could be haunted or not. After recording loads of data, I noticed something interesting. Ghosts seem to be messing with 6 specific things in the environment pretty easily. This got me thinking, and before long, I came up with the Epoch box.
So how has he discovered these 6 different things when you can dive into parapsychological literature, peer-reviewed, published, and they don't mention 6 different things, and they don't mention a lot of the things that he even mentions.
Well, it's been
Promo
said.
material.
Hold on. This is a long article. I mean, it's 3 paragraphs long. Let me see if he says anything.
That's
No,
a
he
A
doesn't.
long
Finish.
article is 3
That is really
Three
paragraphs.
long.
paragraphs. That's
Holy
it.
shit!
Oh,
I did discover that this chip does have an internal temperature sensor.
Oh,
oh.
So he's able to take temperature readings as well internally.
I
No,
don't
he
think he
didn't
lists
say.
temperature though, does he?
No, he doesn't.
Doing the 6.
Well,
got F.
Dr. V, you just gave him another claim he can put on there: temperature sensing.
Temperature sensing, yeah.
In the Epic
Yeah,
Box 2.
'cause that's not in the original.
You know, I got temperature, EMF, and static. I mean, you could point out things that could do those 3, at least 3 more. That must be the magical crystals or something. But yeah, 3 more things. We don't know what it's measuring, but
Yeah.
And this is always my problem with paranormal claims as well. Like if this is real, if this is true, I feel like as humans, like if we have discovered something that can fundamentally change human history forever, right? Like I have discovered a way to communicate with a ghost. I have created this algorithm to use on a super simple microchip that I can get to run a very complex algorithm, which in of itself, like Nobel Prize worthy. But with that, I can specifically talk to ghosts, to dead people, have conversations with them. I feel like as a human, like you owe it to reveal that to the world and change history forever. Why the heck are you selling this for a few $100 to a couple hundred people? I don't know how many people it sells it to, but 1,000 people, like tens of thousands of people. I don't know. But that is pennies compared to anything you can do to change humanity forever by revealing this. And that's what bothers me. Like, I feel like if I had found something so just revolutionary for the human species to know that there is life after death, the question that we have all had since we could think as human beings, and you're hiding behind a $250 or $180 box, like, what are you doing? Publish that stuff, man. Like, let us all know.
Yeah, you're right, and it's interesting. I mean, who's it? Dr. Gary Schwartz, University of Arizona. He's working on a device called the Soul Phone, and he's looking at communicating with supposed spirits through changes in plasma ball readings and visual images. But you look at what he's done now, agree with what he's doing or not, interpret his data the way you want. He's at least publishing it, and it's out there for people to look at, critique, talk about. And it's been going on for years and years and years. So honestly, I find it hard to believe that somebody who's with a PhD, who's been doing this for a while, that's backed by a group of PhDs and is moving incredibly slowly in the regards of having something that can supposedly communicate with spirits, that somebody without that expertise, that background, and this $170 box has solved the problem that this supposed group of scientists is still trying to tackle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and take Schwartz for what he's worth and what you think of him, but at least it's an academic and they're putting the results out there for people to review.
Right.
And we've, another group I work with, we've tried to recreate and do some of that, and we're not having any success with it, but that's a whole different story. But at least it's something based on, we can pull published data and recreate it and try to test it. It's a big difference. And the way they go about this and then marketing it to ghost hunters, why wouldn't you go with the route, at least what these other people are doing, and go and publish it, try to get some funding if it's really worth, and you really think it works.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you wouldn't even just get funding. I mean, you would be on the Mount Rushmore of scientists. Like, it would be Isaac Newton, Einstein, this ghost box. You know what I mean? Like, it would be revolutionary. You would be set for life. I'm sure you'd win the Nobel Prize. It's like $1 million. You could go anywhere and talk. I mean, you're set like forever. If fame is what you're after. It's unconscionable to me. Like, if what his claims, if they're real, that why he would not want to share them with the human race.
Listen, it's America.
America.
Market and sell anything.
But market,
beware, consumer protection.
Well, what do? You can market yourself for, like, get the Nobel Prize for $1 million. That's more you're ever going to sell this box for.
I just wanted to show everyone this. This lists the 6 things that it allegedly inputs, and just to show that temperature is not one of them.
And 3 of those things are lacking. The chip and the antenna cannot do 3 of those things without extra parts. Impossible.
Yeah. It's not a motion sensing
There
device.
is one true comment there. It's not a motion sensing device. So
Yes.
you're probably okay with that.
Yes.
No.
I wanted to address that. Like, a couple questions that I had over the years. Over the year or so since we saw this and started. Like, the front here is open, and so many people have said, "Well, that's where the sensor is," and I'm like, "No, there's nothing there. That's the way the encasement, the rubber casing comes. It just comes with the opening." And
I was so careful not to cover that back up when I put the cover back on it.
And I mean, when you take it apart, it's just the plastic piece. I mean, this is for external connections. So if you do have a board that has any kind of inputs, like plugins, like AV or headphone jack or something like that, that's where it would go in. Because this box is used for it's a general box.
Universal box.
It's a universal box. Yeah. Oh, look, red light.
You're wrong.
It's not.
Wrong.
Yeah, that's a no. That antenna is picking up a signal from your Wi-Fi router from the developer.
Right. But yeah, I mean, when it was used for other applications, other designs, that's where any inputs, anything that you would plug into the device, that's where it would go. So, but yeah, for this thing, it doesn't work. It's nothing there.
There was a paragraph on that website that you had up, Kenny. The paragraph afterwards, it said, I guess they were.
That's Dave's paragraph. Hold on, let me put it back up.
Parapsychology paragraph.
Look, Dave.
wait. There you go, Dave. There's Dave's paragraph right there.
So if, again, let's run with this. Let's say parapsychology has studied the effects of telekinesis on electronic device, found humans with this ability can affect electronics. So how does he prevent humans from affecting his device?
That is an age-old question in parapsychology. How do you know? One of the big debates is if there is survival of consciousness and it can interact with physical environment or electronics. And they've shown that supposedly people can do this as well. How do you know it's not the person sitting there asking the questions or in the investigator affecting the equipment versus a ghost?
Right.
Yeah, I'll go
the
one
super ESP hypothesis versus the survival hypothesis. It's been debated for decades in the literature, and it's hard to address. And not to mention, they don't call it telekinesis anymore, dumbass. It's psychokinesis or anomalous perturbation.
I knew that was going to get
you. Yeah.
I mean, let's at least pretend we're up to date on what the current terminology is.
When I saw Dave's face, I knew.
And listen, it's not a fucking theory, dumbasses. It's a hypothesis.
I got to that paragraph and I read it, and like my first reaction initial was parapsychology. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Has studied the effects of telekinesis. I didn't even finish the word. I'm like, oh, Dave's gonna love this. Pet peeve.
I mean, they've studied it? Yes. Yep. Have they shown that there might be something going on? Yeah. On a micro scale, random number generators, piezoelectric effects, electronic impacts. But it's a mix of lab studies and case reports, field studies. So it's not proven. It's the hypothesis is there's something that they're able to affect. And there's even recent work coming out that shows that potentially biophoton emissions, and there's a lab up in Canada that showed that increased biophoton emissions off of people can affect electronic devices. So is it really paranormal? Maybe not. It's just something we didn't know about at the time.
Right.
So, I mean, he's making a broad statement that there's a lot of nuance in there.
Well, my point is, like, let's just say the broad statement is 100% true.
Mm-hmm.
That's just another factor that he's got to factor out from his box.
Which means
that's just another complication. Right. Like he has claimed that he can not only can he filter out, like, human, artificial, that stuff, that he is also filtering out.
So he's contradicted himself. He said he was able to filter out that stuff.
Right.
Correct. So I think what Kenny needs to do is use his, I don't want to use psychokinetic ability. That's the right word. And see if he can't will that thing to come on at different times.
Oh, ridiculous.
Ow.
Well, not yourself.
I think he just farted.
Yeah. I hope I did. I hope that was a fart.
Better ease up on that force.
Well, I don't know about you, but I gotta pee. So
we're taking a break.
Let's take a break and then come back. I know I do see we have a couple questions.
Okay.
Is that good?
Where's my break? Where's the break?
Oh, I see it. Stand up until the commercial runs.
2 minutes and 27 seconds. Are you ready? On your mark, get set, go. That had me worried there for a minute.
Yeah, I know. For a second,
It
I was
was
like,
Like,
oh,
oh, what happened?
Uh-oh.
he hit the wrong button.
All this is updated since the last time I got to use it. And I was like, oh, shit. Am I supposed to?
Before you know it, the show's over. We're off air. We're done.
We're just sitting around talking. The show's closed. Nobody tells us.
All right. You want to get to some questions?
Yep.
Sure.
I'll be the producer guy.
Ooh,
Producer
okay.
person. I'll let you read them off though.
Okay. Will there be an article written about your findings? I'd love to see what this is.
I asked Kenny about that, and he can give you his response.
I will. I wanted to wait until we did all of this because this was a group project, but I think eventually, yes. I think I'm going to do a video on it, like a video instead of writing up an article. I'm going to do a video because it's a little bit easier to demonstrate, and then I can put clips in, especially if I can run a half-hour clip up in the corner of the screen and just have it running completely of like one of the runs. Oh, sorry, that was me. So that like you see a full unedited video running with this box going, and that way you can time it yourself if you want as we go through. But just have that like up in the corner, sitting there and not doing anything else, and go through everything else, and then probably get reactions from you guys, and then also like interview both Johns too and get them in there. So
yeah, I suggested a publication, but Kenny made a good point. We'd reach way more people by doing a show on it, talking about it, video, because the last paper we published, I'm pretty sure not many people read. The most exposure we got was probably when we talked about it, and then we went to a conference and talked about it.
Yeah,
which is unfortunate, but
three people read it. It was us
and the reviewers on the
and
journal.
the reviewers.
Well,
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah,
we had a few. All right, so we got.
Is Tim able to return and to get his $170 back, or can he void any chance of that? So I think all three of us have been perusing that website, and I got the same part that Kenny did with the 6 measurements. And right above that, it says in bold letters, if you tamper with it, it voids all warranty and return. So no, but
how would you know you needed to return it?
What's that?
How would you know you needed to return it? Like,
it doesn't work.
That's a good question. Probably, I guess if it just didn't come on, like if it just didn't work.
Yeah, I gotcha.
It's a warranty, I guess, for its function. But that's a good question. What if you're like, I wonder if somebody used a device to ask the spirits to give them the proper code or numbers to a lottery, and then they got those, used money to buy several tickets, and they were all wrong. Could you then in turn sue to hold that company liable with those claims?
This is the shit that goes on in Tim's head.
Yeah, this is.
Or if it was the spirit of like, some kind of rich person, could you sue their estate?
Ooh.
Yeah, this is what my brain's good for. That's all.
So yeah, once the, so I when I took it apart, and it's only 4 screws and it comes off, and the only thing you have to worry about is the 2 leads for the battery compartment, the 2 wires, and they made them short. They're very thin. I think they're the thinnest wire that you can use, and I already resoldered those because I was like, I'm not. It's kind of where you had to take the lid off and hold it because you couldn't actually lay both pieces down without it pulling. So I was like, all right, well, I don't. It's just battery leads. I'll take them off, and then I resoldered it. So, but yeah, and then obviously I took all the goo off. I think
I'll see it.
Qualifies as tampered.
There is a reason, no matter what device that we have and share with each other, Kenny gets it last.
Yeah. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I mean, there is that understanding. Like, I am going to take it apart. I want to see what it's made of, because, like, in this, I mean, this was a perfect example. So many people were using it or were wondering about it, and we had no idea what it could or couldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
And now we do. Now we have a really good idea. I mean, it's not 100% because we don't have the code off the chip, but we do know that it can't do certain things. We know at least for sure it cannot do half the sensor inputs that it claims it can do.
And we know that it's the light, at least from our testing, is coming on the yes and no at certain time points.
Yeah.
So take that information, consider that your baseline, and when you go to supposedly haunted locations, compare it against that. See if it's different.
Right. I abused it. That's right. I abused it. And I'm not sorry. I am not sorry. All right. We have one more question.
Some of these devices have a sensitivity to them. Does the Epoch, or Epic box?
We don't know because we don't have the specs.
Yeah. I mean, that would be, as far as I'm concerned, that would be part of transparency, to put the specs online so people could see. And I mean, if you're doing the one thing I will say, like, I haven't seen anywhere where it says scientific testing. They're just saying, trust and reliability and kind of bullshit like that. It's like selling a used car. That's a piece of junk. But I totally blanked. I forgot my thought. Oh my God. I totally blanked on that.
That is a good question for the two Johns, though.
Yeah. So,
because is there any sensitivity you can determine from what you've seen?
and that's the question: is what is the code looking for? Like I said, I don't see any filters or anything to again, I can't trace where the antenna is going, so I can't see what's going on there. But typically you would have like amplifiers, things of that nature to make the signal more like coherent, if you will. But if that does not exist on that ADC pin, so where the trace goes into the pin, it's called an ADC, analog to digital. So machines need to read stuff in digital code, but when you receive stuff in analog signal, you got to convert that. If you're lost, that's fine. It's not important. What is important is that signal on that pin is only 10 bits. What does that mean? I've got it written down that it can do 1,024 distinct levels for the EMF readings, which that could be enough for whatever his algorithm is. It may not be nowhere near enough. That is a very low sensitivity, I can tell you that, for the industry standard, for any kind of EMF detecting. It's very low. But without seeing the code, I don't know if it's enough.
Right. Other John, any input?
No, I agree that there's no way to know what it's doing really, or any quantifiable numbers you can attain from that.
Cool. All right. Oh wait, we do have another. No, we don't have any other questions. I think we're done. I think we're caught up. I don't see any other cues. I mean, there you go, Tim.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go. I think that was I'm really happy that both Johns came on. It was fun doing this. I don't think Daniel. Oh, here's a couple questions coming in.
Oh my God. If the cold has any effect. You're right. I mean, I could do that. I could see if taking it outside affects it at all. Because John V said that it does have an internal temperature sensor in the the chip, so I could see if that has any effect on it. So I mean, I'll turn it on and walk outside. It is going to be a drastic temperature difference. I can tell you that for sure.
Buffalo? Ooh, no way.
Yeah.
and if it is doing that random number generator and it is taking readings from the environment in order to do the random number generator, maybe that temperature sensor is being factored into that. That's certainly a possibility.
I'll save this for last because we usually wrap up with that. But this one, don't you think you would? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tim. I'm sorry. I'm just slipping right in. I could think it's the show.
No, you're good. Yeah, I like it. I've had a lot of coffee with a lot of alcohol in it, so
then you definitely should read the questions.
As long as there's not big words. Okay. Don't you think you would need some more than just one type of yes no box? I've seen several out there. Well, I think it just depends on what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
The one thing I think it would be nice to find a couple people that have this and repeat it.
This specific box.
Yeah.
I know Daniel wants to try
stuff. There's electronic coin flippers. There's random number generators. There's a lot of stuff you could use. There's the mag light flashlight trick. There's a lot of yes no devices out there.
I mean,
Kenny's head on the mag light.
Oh my god! Bam, bam, bam.
So what I'll say is, I'll if I could answer that question, I will say, like, I have looked at this box, right? And Cree, you're right. I think not only, there could just been something wrong with this box. Mm-hmm. The other boxes that he makes may work great. I mean, at the end of the day, we have no idea. We only have this one box, and so that's
a good point.
That's all I can speak to is this one box.
Yep.
Yeah.
With that being said, the idea behind the box is just inherently flawed. And that's what bothers me the most about all of this, is even if you had a box that had all the proper parts, had all the proper equipment, I without any kind of, enhanced capabilities, how are you filtering out all this stuff? How are you filtering out, Tim, I don't want to say telekinesis. I'm afraid you're going to yell at me, or whatever the phrase was. I didn't hear the correct one. But how do you filter out, any kind of parapsychological events? How do you filter out any kind of, artificial, natural events? How do you even know, like, the ghost is telling you the truth when they're talking to you? Like, I think a lot of times we look at ghosts as like homogenous, like they're all the same. But why? How do we know that's not lying to us? I mean, there's so much just from an idea perspective of just how not useful this tool is. And at the end of the day, like, even if it did do all the things that it claimed to be doing, you're still using it in kind of a non-scientific way. Like, even if the ghost is real, how do we know it's a ghost that's changing the light? And how do we know it's telling the truth? And so, I don't know. At the end of the day, it's still, even if it worked, would it be useful as a tool for authentic research? And I don't think so.
Right.
Another good point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's see. We have a question here. Dawson. I don't know. I just asked him. Oh, and I see the dots dancing. So we'll see what he says. I'll let you know in a moment. And I think that's it. I'll go back up to the last question here, because I think that's all we have. Go ahead, Tim.
All right. So what's the final conclusion on the Epoch device or Epoch device? I have to say, I think John without an H really summed it up right there at the end with his commentary on it. I thought that was really good.
Yeah.
I also like the point that he made that I have to say, I don't think I take it into consideration a lot, is we only have one of these. Mm-hmm. And I think that is an important thing to consider each time we get one, or whatever we're testing. But I think as well, I like the idea that John without an H had. I wouldn't, if I was going to do serious research and really test and really have an idea of what I want to do to see if something that is abnormal or paranormal, I don't think this is a box I would use. I don't think any ghost hunting tool or gadget is anything that I would use. Dave certainly swayed me over to data loggers, and those can be expensive, but I think those are expensive probably because there's a lot of research and a lot of testing and a lot of history that goes into them. But some of them, I guess some of them are obtainable. But if I had $900 to spend on a ghost box that spits radio stuff at me, I would rather put it on a data collector any day. So I agree. Like, this isn't something that I would use to actually go out and do any serious research at a alleged haunted location.
Dawson does not have one. He has a different type of yes/no box, but he doesn't have this one. So,
All right, Kenny, Dave.
Final thoughts. Shit. There you go. To be honest, like, that's it. I am highly disappointed with this. I was expecting at least some kind of like actual sensor where we could see readings. From what I gather from both John's and just looking at it myself, I don't see how I can live up to any of the claims that it is boasting, that the website and the creator is boasting. I don't like the peer review process that they describe, because I don't consider that peer review. I consider that, hey, buddy, does this look cool? Will this make the lights light up? Yeah. Okay, cool. I think that's about it. I agree with you guys, especially like the John, where it's like, I would like to get other ones before I make like a final conclusion. I would like to see if other ones either have the same pattern or a pattern of themselves. Like from the moment you turn it on, each session, I would like to see if there's some kind of pattern. I would like to eventually acquire another one that is not partially.
You'll have to find somebody else to buy it.
I know.
A whole other address, a whole other name.
I considered buying another one, and then I was like, oh, the price went up. Son of a bitch. But I still might. But if I can acquire one that is new and especially not like partially melted, I will trade you, Tim, and I will give you the newer one, and I will send this. I would hope we can send this to someone that can remove the chip and read the code.
Yeah, I'm not worried about how that ends up. I bought that for us. It's I did that for us, so I would rather it go anyway, if you're done with it, to somebody that could get that chip rather than come back to me. It'll just go on a box, in a box somewhere on a shelf here, and I'll find it in 4 years and go, oh shit, look at this, I remember this. I mean, that's what'll happen to it. I find like remember the Dr. Gauss EMF meter?
Oh yeah,
I have the black and the gray.
I have the black. I found it in my closet. I was like, holy shit, this is so old. Yeah, that was my first EMF ghost hunter when I was a ghost hunter running around. Yep.
But I mean, I agree with you, Tim, when you say, like, John kind of summed it up there. This is not a device to use. Based on what we found, and again, like, I do want another input. I want another box to give us input, but based on what we found so far, and we have no reason to believe this is defective. But I would not use this for anything other than an overpriced novelty to sit on the shelf. If you're relying on your communication or you're basing your beliefs on this thing, I think you should reevaluate what you're doing and maybe just look. I think in the end, let me say it this way. In the end, this is a good example of needing to understand something before you buy it. If a company is not providing you with actual transparency, if they're advertising transparency, but they're not actually doing it, meaning they don't give you the specs, they don't tell you how it actually reads or how the algorithm works, or how it determines anything like that, then don't buy the product. Seriously, save your money. There's plenty of other yes, no kind of things. You can use a freaking quarter and do a yes, no yourself. Seriously, if Ghost can manipulate objects, flipping a quarter up in the air, they should be able to say, oh, click, there you go, I'm landing on heads. I would rely on that rather than this box. So buyer beware, don't waste your money. So with that,
you could almost get 2 thermometers and place them in pretty close proximity and say, if this is true, lower the temperature or raise the temperature on this thermometer and leave that one alone.
Yeah.
I mean,
something like that. Yeah,
if you can make it, they're supposed to get cold, so they should be able to make something cold.
All right, I'm done talking.
Dave?
Agree with what you both said. Trying to find maybe a positive in this. I would encourage people, if you still want to use it, you've seen what we found, test it, get some baseline readings in a control location that supposedly isn't haunted, and then take it to a haunted location, see if you get something different. That's about it. I mean, there are ways to test these things, and it's incredibly important to understand what they're supposed to do and what they really do. Again, it's $170 for $100. You can buy a data logger that does a lot more with specifications that you can count on. Yeah, I mean, like any good researcher, there's always more research and more information and more experiments to conduct. So, if you want to get one, maybe we found that, yeah, it does go off at certain times. That's just the way it is in a non-haunted location. But the key will be, does it do anything different in a haunted location? But even then, we get back to that problem of, is it a living person impacting it? Is it the ghost that's supposedly causing changes in the readings? Or is it simply related back to this fact that, serious researchers have found that in supposedly haunted locations, there are environmental factors that are different than non-haunted locations. And they're not even saying, those people aren't even saying it's due to a ghost. They're basically just saying there's something different in the environment at this location. So it's still not going to answer the question of if the ghost is communicating with it. So I think there's a long way we got to go to get to that point. And to me, it's a fun device. If you want to play around with it, feel free, but know the limitations and test it appropriately.
Right.
And Dr. V, do you have any final thoughts?
No, I pretty much agree. There's so much that we don't know, and it highlights what Kenny said. You need to know what you're buying, and if it doesn't tell you what you're buying, then you probably shouldn't buy it. And I agree 100%. Data logger is the way to go. I mean, that is the absolute way to go for this area of study. And honestly, if you're wanting to pass this on, maybe you should send this to the other John, because he has Raspberry Pis, and you can connect a Raspberry Pi to this thing and maybe download the code that way, or see if it's outputting something on what they call a serial terminal. It may be telling you what it's doing. We just can't see it because it's not connected. There's many different things. There's many other ways to go with this to see if it may be doing something else. But yeah, I agree. It's just a nice little gadget. It's way overpriced, and unfortunately for people who buy it and believe it, it just continues to spread the chaos and other things that are involved in the paranormal world that just drive me absolutely nuts.
Awesome.
And, yeah.
All right.
Cool.
John without an H, I kind of just, your final statement there before we started doing, I just kind of said, I liked your final statement, but didn't give you a real chance to actually close if you have anything final.
Yeah, I guess I got a couple things. Like, and yeah, if you guys don't know what to do with it, I can definitely get my hands on it. I am not a software guy. However, in Triangle Skeptics here in Raleigh, we've got a couple of guys who are software guys, and they may be able to tell you a lot more than I can. So yeah, if you, I mean, I'll be seeing you guys in a few weeks or days. If that's an option, I will gladly take it. If I can't do anything with it, I'll gladly give it back as well. I guess like the two things I wanted to say, final thoughts, and I'll try to keep it short. Is one, you know, I'm sure there are skeptics and non-skeptics here, and I think sometimes when people think of skepticism, they think about a bunch of people that sit around and just crap on everything. And for me, skepticism, the core of skepticism is exactly what Kenny said. And that's, you know, if you are going to buy a product, just ask some questions. That's skepticism, right? Like if you're going to buy a car and a salesman is telling you this car is great, it's refurbished, nothing wrong with it, you don't need to do a lemon check, tires are brand new. Are you just going to be like, okay? And I think like a lot of times, and I know I have in the past, like when in my ghost hunting past, where we get into these situations where, man, like stuff's happening and it can be exciting, like especially after you've been sitting around in the dark and it's been boring for hours, and like all of a sudden something starts happening. There's something, and I don't mean this in like a loving way, but there's something like romantic about when things are happening, like at a paranormal stakeout. I shouldn't even call it an investigation because it's not. But you know, there's something romantic about thinking you're communicating with people that have been dead for who knows how long. You communicate with the other side. Like there is something meaningful about being in a situation like that. And I think it's really easy to get caught up in that. And all skepticism is just asking a few questions. Don't sell yourself. Like that is a meaningful experience if it ever was possible to even happen. Don't sell yourself short and just not ask questions when that happens. And I feel like that's what we do when we think, oh, I heard a noise. I'm communicating with someone's dead. Like, do you understand the weight of like what you're saying? Like it's revolutionary, like what you're saying. And so with these devices, I would say just ask some questions. That guy is trying to make a buck. That's what he's doing. I hope he's doing it in good faith and maybe is just, you know, incorrect about his assumptions. I sure hope he isn't a scam artist. I'm not calling him that.
Right.
But I hope he's not. But just ask some questions. What is the purpose of this device? Does it work? Will it lead me to any kind of meaningful conclusions? And if I do get it, how can I falsify something with it? Ask questions to falsify. Can you show me where something hidden is? Yes, no, like, you know, do some falsification with it. Don't ask questions that you can interpret that can mean anything. So I guess that's, and I know I said I'd be short and this is really long, but I just kind of wanted to echo what Kenny
Like,
said.
really long.
Oh,
Damn it, John.
Man. I babble. You need a damn it, John sign now. But just don't sell yourself short. Ask questions. Don't just understand this stuff is revolutionary. Like if you actually discovered a ghost, you are up there with Einstein, man. Like you're on like the Mount Rushmore of the most famous people who will ever exist. And I'm not being facetious when I say that. Like if you prove that people can communicate from the afterlife, I cannot think of a greater discovery. And to say that this box can do that claim, I think falls short. So sorry, getting off my pedestal.
No, I think that was good.
It was good.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on. Hang on and don't jump off. and hopefully I won't screw up the ending because it's been a while, but chances are I will. And I want to thank everybody in the comments and coming to watch this. I hope it's been informative. I hope you had a good time. And who's up next? Not me.
Is it me?
I think it's Kenny.
I think it's me.
Kenny, you need to work on your poker. Is it me? Because Dave jumped right on it. Yeah, I think it is you.
Yeah, I think it's you.
You need to work on your poker, man. You should jump. You should do first and say, I think it's Dave.
Not a big deal. It's good.
All right.
Oh,
Well,
fair
thank you,
enough.
everybody, and hang on there, and we'll talk a little bit after the show.
Real quick, Tim, don't forget that the three of us are going to be at the Hanover Tavern Paracon, January 31st through Feb 1st, and we'll be giving a talk.
Yep.
Yeah.
I will be working on that. Hopefully. All right. I'll see you guys. And thanks everybody for watching. And here we go. Closure.
Don't screw it up.
I'm going to screw it up.
And what you say, oh, you'll get in there.